guess, a chance to
No,
get home.
I mean, one, sure.
They, I never even considered it until I was on a Zoom, last Monday, and they were talking about, closing offices, and I thought about it, but I was like, well, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of.
I'll just get the consensus from everyone here, and if it's final, I can announce that during the, discussion by the end. Hello.
Like I
I mean,
said, I wasn't,
Tony will not be here
uh,
tonight.
Oh, now I'll take it.
Yeah, she
Oh.
knows. Did you use it?
Yes.
I think I sent it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you probably need all of his extra papers.
Right, I will take his extra
All the extra papers.
Mayor, how do you feel about, are you okay if we have Penny close the city office at 1 o'clock on the day of the eclipse?
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay. Okay. We've got the consensus of
Yeah.
enough people, we can just call it in.
She can just say it. I feel like I'm sitting in the cellar.
Does everyone have a packet?
Yes. And then Penny, I'm assuming you did put the new, paper here, and you put the ambulance stuff here, is this something that you wanna add in,
Yeah,
right?
if we can, this
Yeah.
is literally things I found out about today.
Well, that's fine. And then I'm assuming that the paper that you included here, the memo about the, grant application,
Yes.
is that because of the adjusted amount? Do I need to let people know the amount in the packet?
Good, you?
The amount, right,
Okay.
but oh, it's Willa. They, I mean, I'm Lydia too.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Yeah, look what happens,
I
right?
know.
And,
Say hi.
yeah,
Pretty blue eyes.
they, so the memo that you have says up to 2/23, because I was talking to Karen today, and I will explain this during the public hearing what I'm talking about. So I think we're gonna have to go with a different option than what we originally, were considering.
Yeah.
I'll let you, I'll just let you
Yeah.
talk about that
I
one.
take
that's
this over
But
the new
we
one.
have the
That's
one,
hard for me.
I have something in there about the library. And Peter isn't able to be here, but again, that one I found out at 3:30 this afternoon, and then I had a meeting at 3:45, so by the time I could work on it, it was 5 o'clock.
Let's do this, just to simplify things, why don't you include those things that came up today,
Mhm.
when you do reports by subcommittee, so when you do the manager report, why don't we tackle
Okay.
that?
Okay, that sounds great.
That makes sense?
Yep, that sounds great.
Okay.
I will do that.
Not really.
No. Yeah, no, those were just new things today. Hi.
Hi.
Is that for me? Just in case.
Right.
Wait, is this paper different than the other paper? This isn't, is it, honey?
That one is the one that I revised on Sunday or Saturday or Sunday, when we added the executive session.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. I'm thinking, I don't see anything different here, I just didn't go down.
No, well, I didn't have a chance to add these things, because literally, it was.
That's fine.
I've got to get hungry after opening the store.
Ours, the one that was not
No, I was.
And then of course, this is only 6.5 acres, just 27 acres. So there's lots of room
John,
to sort of give it.
John with us yet? John is.
Yeah,
usually
John is
all,
here.
okay.
Zooming.
cleaned out.
So there's no contamination. So it's clean. That's where that concrete is right there. So we can come and we use this for the creams, just to sit on, just like that. We built a new store on it.
Congrats.
It's like 4 feet.
What's that?
They don't make it like that anymore.
All right, if everyone could turn their microphones on.
Sorry about that. Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Monday, March 25th, 2024 City Council meeting. Thank you all for being here this evening. Roll call. We have Councilors Bagley, Lovewell, Terrio, Kelly, and Councilor Morrill by Zoom, and Councilor Smith is absent this evening. Invocation and inspirational thought.
Please join me in an attitude of prayer. We pray for our country at all times, that all citizens are safe, healthy, and happy. We pray for wisdom for all those who guide and govern. Help this government body in every situation to know and to do the things that are right and just, with soundness of judgment and making vital decisions. We pray for the peacemakers, that the holy, life-giving spirit may ever dwell in their hearts, and the barrier of fear, suspicion, and hatred may fall. This we pray to the Holy Father. Amen.
Amen. If everyone would please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4 on our agenda this evening is the declaration of any conflict of interest. Does anybody here have a conflict of interest they wish to declare this evening? Okay. Public forum. Danielle, did you have anyone send anything in for public forum?
No.
No. Is there anybody here from the public who wishes to speak this evening?
Were you gonna say something?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Are you awarding the grants?
Yes, that's the next thing, but if you were
Okay.
gonna say something, that would be the
Oh,
next.
I very much appreciate it.
All righty. So we do not have any minutes to approve this evening. So item number 7 on our agenda will be under bid openings, awards, and appointments. And we do have the facade improvement grant to talk about this evening. So, and this is on page 2 of your packets. For the spring 2024 facade improvement grant period, the City of Caribou received 3 worthy applications from businesses in our downtown tax increment financing district. Those applicants are Glass with Class at 53 Herschel Street, Thrive Body Spa at 73 Sweden Street, and Kiefer Real Estate at 101 High Street. So we do have a committee that meets to discuss these facade improvement grants, and the committee did meet. And it looks like the recommendation that the committee has made is to amount the following awards. $500 for Glass with Class to remove and dispose of old awning. $2,000 for Thrive Body Spa for a fence project, and then $1,000 sign enhancement and new sign inserts for Kiefer Real Estate. So based on that information, the council does need to affirm the decision of the committee. So what are the wishes of the council?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the results of the Facade Improvement Grant Committee and award the Facade Improvement Grant in the amount of $500 to Glass with Class, $2,000 to Thrive Body Spa, and $1,000 to Kiefer Real Estate for projects described in the applications and subject to the terms set forth in the grant application.
I second.
Motion and seconded. Discussion? Okay. Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrill?
Aye.
Aye. Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations to the recipients. Item number 8 is public hearings and possible action items. We have 2 this evening. The first is a public hearing for the Aroostook County ARPA grant application for public health effects, and that starts on page 3 of your packet. Just to kind of share a little background, and then I'll open up the public hearing. Letters of intent were sent to the County of Aroostook for the 2024 ARPA program. The City of Caribou received a notification, eligibility by email from the county that the projects were eligible to move to the full application process. So as part of this process, we are having a public hearing this evening. And I will go ahead and open the public hearing at 6:05 p.m. Penny, would you like to give some introduction to this?
Sure. So the grant application is for a 50-50 match for equipment to be used at the Caribou Fire and Ambulance Department and the Caribou Police Department. A copy of the letter of intent is attached. This grant will help fund 5 Stryker stretchers to use with patient care by EMS crew, as well as the new Hindsight 60 series multimedia recorder system for both police and fire. The match funding was secured during the 2024 municipal budget process. And I have some letters of support that have been received to date, and I got 3 more today. So we have a letter from from Scott Dow, who's the president of the Caribou Professional Firefighters, IAFF Local 5191. We have a letter from Beth Collmore. Dr. Collmore is actually she oversees the medical care and training for the EMS department. We have a letter of support from Miles Williams, who's the president of the Caribou Organization Promoting Public Safety. And then today, I also received letters from 2 communities who get their ambulance service from Caribou, Stockholm and Limestone. And we actually got a letter of support from a person who requires transport in the ambulances, who said that this will also be more comfortable for patients also. So we've had a lot of support for this grant application, and we have been able to use the county ARPA program to fund equipment and necessary renovations to the fire department in the past. So this has been a very successful program for us.
Yes, it certainly has. Is there anybody here from the public who wishes to speak? Is there anybody from the council who wishes to speak? Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:08 p.m. And what are the wishes of the council?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the City of Caribou 2024 Aroostook County ARPA program application in the category of public health and negative economic impact.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrell?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay. The next item on our agenda is another public hearing for the Aroostook County ARPA grant application. This one is for infrastructure improvements, and that is on page 18, or starts on page 18 of your packet. So again, for this, letters of intent were sent to the County of Aroostook for the 2024 ARPA program. The City of Caribou received a notification eligibility email from the county that the projects were eligible to move to the full application process. So again, as part of this process, we will have a public hearing this evening. I will open the public hearing at 6:09 p.m. Penny, would you mind giving us a little bit of background for this one as well?
Sure. So the grant application is for a match to construct a connection to keep a legacy business in Caribou, the Chadwick Bayroffs. by installing a 3,000 linear foot of sanitary sewer line to the largest lift station operated by the Caribou Utilities District. This project aligns with the critical need for necessary investments and improvements in existing water and sewer infrastructure. This will expand the capacity for connections to encourage additional businesses and/or residential growth on Main Street. Chadwick Bay Ross has committed $75,000 towards the project. The Caribou Utilities District has committed $2,000 towards the project. To match the funds requested from the county ARPA funds, I am suggesting that the city obligate up to $223,000 in ARPA NEU funds. So when you have a copy of the letter of intent, so originally the project that we were going after was, I've got a map up here of, so Chadwick Bay Ross is here, this little flag. So the best solution would be to do the project which takes this line right here that goes to this lift station that's out on the Prescal Road, Route 1. So this is what we would have liked to have done. However, when we started to get quotes for the project, what we found, and let me see if it will let me share this. Okay, there we go. So what we found, unfortunately, was that that project would cost over $1 million. So originally, we were submitting from that thinking we would be able to get that put together. However, we can't do that. So, I mean, we can try to apply for funding like community development block grants, an EDA grant. The CUD could apply for MBRC funds, but we would not have answers before I have to submit this, which is in a week. So, what I was trying to do is get us a match of $300,000. I checked with the county, and if we don't have committed the funds for the whole project, we'll lose points on our project. So, it looks like what we're gonna have to settle for is this line here, which will take this connection, well, it's not a connection now, it has to be, a connection would have to be made here. And it would take it up here, and it would hook on to this manhole, which is near Donnie Street. I think Donnie Street is actually over here, but this is, there is already infrastructure. So it doesn't, it is not as long of a connection. The thought for doing this connection, if we can get the funding available, would be, this would open all of this area up for development off of South Main Street, including, we have a snow dump here, we have an individual in town that owns the rest of this in here, and if they wanted to do some development, they would have that option too, also. So the reason why I'm asking for up to 223 is because when we are doing the application now, and this is something that's just kind of developed, what I found out that our project will lose points if we don't have all of the money for the project committed. We'll have to go, it looks like, and again, Mr. Kirkpatrick at the CUD, I have not been able to talk to him since I heard from Mr. Pelletier, but I will this week before we submit. But it looks like we're going to have to go with the second option so we can make sure that we have our money all committed. And the cost of that one would be $538,850. So that would mean that the ARPA grant would be $269,425. So the city's portion is going to be less than the 223. And we were working on that today, but I didn't have a chance to finish that before we had a meeting. So I mean, that's how this is going today. Anyway, I don't know what questions everyone has on that. It's kind of a developing situation, because we put these things out, but until we get some actual cost for things, we don't know what's gonna cost. But what we have figured out is we can't go to the county with an application unless we have a commitment for all the funds to do the project, not just a funding of the match, which is what we were hoping. If we could just get to the 300,000 and they give us 300,000, then we would have time to get grant funding for the rest, but that wasn't the case.
Okay. Before I open up questions to the council, is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Come on up, state your name and address, please.
Yeah, Troy Haney, 236 Van Buren Road, and I'm here in the capacity of the committee chair for the Caribou Development Committee, which had a big part in this conversation, I think, as far as getting the idea going. I think there's some, and I apologize, it's the first I'm hearing of the two different options here,
Well,
so
listen,
it's a yeah, it's a developing situation. So a little background, I think, to make sure everybody's clear on what we're looking at here. And Penny explained how we have some property. We have about 125, I believe it's 125 or 30 acres of developable land with a local businessman that has the ability to develop it into residential properties, which was his initial intent. And part of his reserve of not doing it for the last, say, decade or whatever he's had the property, I don't know the exact timeline, is because of the cost of infrastructure. So we looked at Chadwick Bay Ross. As Penny said, it's a legacy business to the community, and it obviously brings a lot of people to our community from all over Aroostook County. But beyond the aspect of just saving property taxes and a few jobs or a dozen jobs or wherever it is, one thing that we had to take into consideration is they lease a lot of equipment, and whatever town the lease is oriented into, we get business equipment tax on that as a city. So the impact of that particular square footage is much greater than just the building alone. So it was important that we found a way to connect them and keep them here in Caribou. And it also sends a message that Caribou is open for business, and we want to continue to keep what we have here and grow upon that business base versus them leaving to other communities for other developments. It looks like, there's almost a 50% difference here in the two costs. I would just point out that the option we're looking at for $538,000 would take away from that developable residential property area. So we get one chance to sort of do this right, I guess, and I would encourage us to consider the larger portion, only from a sense that Caribou is, as we've learned in the Development Committee, as we look for properties to develop, they're far and few between, and it's very difficult to bring companies or businesses to the community. And we also are talking about in our housing symposium how we would like to have some developable subdivisions for people to build homes in Caribou. And so this kind of nails out, I know it's a larger investment, but, and again, I'll speak for me, not necessarily for the committee. The extra dollars spent now may net a much larger possibility of return going forward. So I don't know if it's even possible, but I understood that we had, potentially we have some money that was set aside from the COVID dollars that came in that needs to be spent by the end of 2024, and maybe we can somehow leverage that to get us over the hump, to get us to that $500,000 investment or whatever it needs to be.
That's where I'm asking this 223 from.
Yeah, so there are more dollars from what I understand in that money, right, that's available?
Like 80,000.
Oh, okay, so it's less than we.
It's not like a million.
Okay, so again, just want to make sure we're clear. The investment piece gets you basically three things. I had spoke to the landowner. He's willing to take sort of along South Main Street and turn that into commercial lots right along the road with potential residential behind. So we would be saving a business, developing some commercial lots available to be built on along the road, and residential lots in the back by spending that investment. And I'm not sure where we get a better bang for our buck in today's cost world. So I just want to share that. And Dan's obviously part of the committee and been part of those conversations, so I'm sure he'll have more to add. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody on the council have anything they'd like to add or any questions that they'd like to ask? Counselor Morrell?
Yes, I'll try to get this out here, but excuse my coughing and everything, but whatever. Okay, first off, okay, when we were talking about the appropriations, the Caribou Development Corporation, or the CUD, okay, Utilities District, said they were only able to put in $2,000 to help subsidize this project. Okay, now, ultimately, okay, this project would benefit them tenfold because it's gonna increase their customer base, okay? So my question is, okay, we're being asked to make a sizable investment, okay, which I agree with. Actually, I agree with what Troy was saying. So I'll tell you a story, okay, is that years ago when I was looking to build custom car wash, okay, we almost ended up on South Main Street, okay? But the problem was the sewer structure up there was so messed up, okay, that it wasn't feasible for us. So my question is, okay, to the Caribou Utilities District is, why only $2,000? Okay, if you had a sizable amount of money to invest in other projects, now why are you saying you can only do this when we're going to increase your customer base? Something doesn't make sense to me. But I agree with what Troy's saying. I like the longer line. I agree that because I know what everything's like up there. But I just want to know why Caribou Utilities District is only $2,000. Okay, we're talking a $500,000. Well, minimum is $500,000. With the city putting up ARPA money, if we can get it in our match. So the other question is, okay, so if we put in, we invest in this, okay, does that mean that that line is ours? Does that mean that those customers now are gonna tie into that line? Does that mean that's ours? So then we can take the income from there? I don't know. But I do agree with Troy, what he's saying, because that's what we need to do. One of the biggest problems is that, especially in that end of town, that the sewer situation, it's a mess. But anyway, so if this is a way to correct it and for down the road, I mean, I'll go with whatever. I mean, I want to see Chadwick Mayross stay for a short-term fix, but I want to see that big line put in, connect down to on Route 1. But anyways, might be just me. Sorry.
Thank you.
So the $2,000 has to do with their policy. Their current policy is $2,000. I mean, just like we have policies here, that's where that comes from.
Don't they have a long-term strategic capital plan for expansion and maintenance and all that? Have they not done any planning to extend or expand?
I don't know about the fine details of CUD.
I'm just curious.
I know that there's different projects they have to send to the state, but I'm not sure if those are water or sewer projects that they have to send, you know, to get, like funding and things, but that's only from sitting in their meetings, because they have their meetings here now. So I sit in their meeting. Okay, Councilor Morrell's trying to get your attention.
Okay. Just one thing real quick. I was just going to say, and it might be nice at some point for someone from this UD to come in and kind of speak to us a little bit.
Patrick's out of town for a few
Yes.
days, and it just happened to be during this
Yeah.
critical time.
Yeah.
But he'll be back Wednesday.
Okay. Councilor Morrell.
Actually, Madam Mayor, I was going to agree with that. I would like to hear from the chairman of the board in regards to this. I mean, I think the chairman of the board who runs the ultimate showdown here, I'm assuming, I would like to have him come talk to us about expansion and what they can do. Okay, this is kind of a big deal. I mean, it's everybody talks about it. It's time for somebody to come from the CUD. I don't know if it's going to be an executive session. I don't know how it's going to be done, but I want to hear from the chairman of the board come talk to us about utilities expansion.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, please come on up.
Sorry, I just thought of one more point that you guys should be aware of too. I was talking about where they lease equipment. And I think it's important we understand the value of that. If you look at a certain piece of equipment, I think one of the examples that was shared, it basically brings in $7,000 to $8,000 roughly in a year for business tax for Caribou. Obviously, if they expand their footprint, which is why they need this sewer extension, they will probably lease more equipment. So if we look at it from a standpoint of, if they do 10 pieces of equipment on lease a year, I don't know the numbers, but if you're getting $7,500, that's a $75,000 property tax value or business tax value that we get. So even if we look at it from a standpoint to appropriate those funds to sort of offset the cost over a 10-year period, you can pay all this back and then some, and get all the potential development on the road. So just wanted to make sure everybody understood the whole picture. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments from the council?
I just want a little clarification, I guess. So this ARPA grant, that has to be completely decided as far as the direction. All the funding has to be completely in place to even apply for it this week. So you would have to have, if you wanted to do the $1 million project, you'd have to have everything in place going forward.
Right, that's our problem with doing the $1 million project, is that we don't have it in place. And what we had
Can you do
hoped-
a portion of that project, like make the project a piece of that project? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Phase 1, so that
Right.
you can,
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
So that we
Technically,
can
you're,
have time to apply for further
Well, we
funding.
can-
So you
we
can get-
apply
yeah.
for like the 269,
Mhm.
and then we can apply for more in hopes we could do the $1 million project, but we're still only gonna get the 269 from the county, because they have to have their money appropriated also.
But the question becomes, but we can, if we were to apply
Yes,
for
if
more
we were-
funding
if
and
we
get
were
it, we
able to
could
get-
change the
yes,
scope of our
You
project.
could change the scope if we were successful.
Got it.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
just, it's just for the purpose of this grant, we could only ask them for, like, the 269, I think is what we have on here, that it would be from ARPA. Like, we couldn't go back to them and say, okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and do the $1 million project, so we can take the 300. We have to be able to have our funds committed for what we're asking for, which in this case would be the 269.
Okay.
I guess what I was asking is, could you change the scope of the project, say,
Yes.
yes.
If we were successful with getting other grant funding before they got, I mean, because first of all, you have to have like all the engineering and the design work and all of that. They need to take out their subsurface wastewater disposal system probably out this summer. But CUD has a fix for that. They're going to put in a line and a tank that will just be pumped out, and it'll be across the road, so it will not interfere with any of the construction at their location while they're building their new building. And then from there, we'll have to get on someone's calendar to do design work. They're not gonna be able to start on anything until next year, so that buys us some time to be able to stack different grant funding to be able to do the $1 million project.
So, and maybe I'm not wording this exactly what I'm trying to say. So, what I'm saying is, I'm asking you to go after the $1 million project, but I'm asking you to say, chop it into 4 pieces and just say, this is the $269,000 portion, and I'm asking for the $269,000 portion of that from this grant. And we know we're going after the 800,000 that we need, or $700,000 that we need from somebody else later. But we're gonna go after that for this, because otherwise you're actually asking for how much more? $1.5 million, because you're doing 2 separate projects, right? Is that, am I right? We're
No,
going to- is
no,
it
we
2
can
separate
change the
locations?
scope of the project once we get going. So basically, if we can get this funding, yay, we've got this funding, but then if we can secure more funding, then we could expand the project to be the $1 million project versus
You can
this.
switch it to the other, oh,
Right.
okay, I
As
understand.
long as we're doing what we have said that we're doing, which is constructing this project, which in this case, instead of 3,000 linear feet, we're gonna be asking them for the 1,230. Well, since 3,000 is greater than 1,230.
I see.
And 4 manholes, then if we're successful, we'll be doing the 3,040 linear feet with 8 manholes.
I see. So
we
you
can
would
go
be able
bigger,
to.
but not smaller.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so should you be able to get other funding, you
Mhm.
can switch and go to that. Okay. All right.
Yes.
I agree that we can't rock the cart at this point in time. We need to go through with what you've got done so far and do it like an add-on later on, you know, and stuff like that, because we don't want to risk this.
Right,
in
that's my
order for-
concern, is
and,
that if we don't have everything in place for the 538,
Right.
we can get that in place, but there's no way we
then-
can get everything in place.
And then we'll
right.
go as we can,
Mhm.
apply for more, and
Yeah.
if we don't get it all, we can add on a little bit at a
Yeah,
time. And
right.
I also agree with John, I don't understand why it's just $2,000 towards that when they reap the profits of the services, but who knows? But, no, I think we should stay with this and work on it and add on it as we get the money to do that, because it's a win-win situation, and we should be developing that land and stuff, but we don't wanna lose what we're gonna get
Right,
for,
right.
we
And
don't
it
wanna
would
roll the
be-
dice.
Right, and it sounds to me like going all the way across, we'll be hooking into the largest lift station too. So that makes it just a better connection.
Right.
Just like Counselor Morrow was talking about, how before it wasn't, you know, maybe as good as he would need it, because he's got a high water business.
Usage, yeah.
You know, it generates a lot of water that has to go somewhere. So, I don't know. We're just really trying to do things to let people know that Caribou is very serious about development.
Well, and I think also too, 1 second, Counselor Morrill, and I think too, with the $2,000 from the CUD, I think the CUD has, shown that they are interested in
Yep.
trying to, work on some economic development projects. So maybe it's time for them to take a look at their caps that they have on that. And so maybe by inviting them in here to speak with us, maybe we can come to another arrangement, but at least get this started. In the
Right.
meantime, let's get this project started and apply for this, and then maybe have them come in, and maybe we look at getting more funding from them down the road, if that's something they're able
Right,
to
and
do.
like, if we're able to do an MBRC grant, they would be the ones that would have to apply for it, because we already are working on one right now.
Okay, sorry, Counselor Morrill?
It's okay. My last comment is, okay, this basically breaks down into 2 projects. Okay, first off, we have to take care of the needed end, which is to get Chadwick Bay Ross hooked up to something. Okay, now, the $1 million project here, that's actually a separate project. So first thing, we have to take baby steps. Let's take care of project number 1, which looks like we can do, okay? Then we will work with CUD, UK, whatever else to take care of the big one. And Caribou Economic Development Committee, I'm sure be very well involved with this. So my thought process, let's just not get caught up, okay, in trying to do everything all at once. Let's just go baby steps. Let's take care of the first thing that's most relevant, and then go from there.
Thank you. Anybody else have a comment they'd like to make?
Use the button with the hand waving button.
I think I would just repeat the concern. This is a lot of money, and I applaud the innovation and the initiative to put this package together. It is a lot of money to entice a single business to stay in town. I mean, I hate to put it in those stark terms, but we really have to consider, what our strategy is going forward, and what happens to the next business that comes in and wants a $500,000 benefit to stay in town. I haven't seen any data that indicates there is a return on investment, how long that would take. It's very hard to measure, so I wouldn't expect that. But, I mean, conceptually, it seems like a really good idea, but it is a lot of money. I'm really concerned about that.
But they're building a big new building, right?
Yeah, they are. They're building
So
it.
we're gonna get some tax,
Yeah.
more tax money.
Yeah.
No, it's all-
I
To
do.
add a couple of jobs.
Yeah.
And it does extend the line, so even if you,
To bring in other people, other
right,
businesses.
so, and I mean, we don't know if someone is interested in developing out there. That isn't
Right.
unknown.
Exactly.
But I
Yeah.
do think it does show that we are open for business
It's-
and we're supporting
it's
businesses in
a
our
project
community.
that-
So
Yeah,
to me, I think it's
At a bare
something
minimum,
worth
too.
supporting.
At a bare minimum, it gives us the snow dump that we do own, and we are able to attach that to this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Either or option, right? So
Yes.
it works on either or option, so
Yeah.
that's about 10 acres of developable property that Caribou has control of.
Yep. Yep.
So that being said, what I said before, I still support every effort to go after whatever grant funding we can get our hands on. So I'm not trying to say, don't proceed. I'm just saying the big picture is, what are we doing here? And why isn't CUD building their own infrastructure? Why is the city paying for that when they should be paying for it? Or at least a larger portion of it, I would think. So I think, I don't know, I'd like to address those issues as well, but I say go forward on the grant application. Let's see what we can get. That's my opinion anyway.
All right. Counselor Morrell, you got one more comment for us?
Sorry. My
He's-
words of wisdom for this evening, okay? Is that, no, and I agree with what you're saying, Dan. It's a lot of money to spend, but it seems like it's only for one. But knowing that property up there, knowing that area through there, and like Troy was just saying, the avenues that it could open up, okay, in a short term, okay, until we can address the long-term issues, which we'll have to address with the CUD, okay, it actually, it keeps something here, and it keeps something growing. And actually, it could be, I think it's more beneficial than what we think. I mean, when they built the Caribou motor inn, okay, years and years ago, okay, and they put water and sewer out there and ran, I think there's sewer out there. That's what that pumping station is. That was a big investment made for one business, but now it could be beneficial to everything else that we can possibly do. Anytime business can get an advantage, some way to stay, I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, you hear this story about Ames's and all these other buildings, people that want to relocate Maine, well, who knows? And so, putting sewer in, but again, this is something that discussion we need to have openly with the CUD about. I mean, if they're gonna own this system, they gotta pay the bill. They should pay the bill. But anyways.
Thank you.
Won't bother you.
Ready, anybody else?
I did have a question for the manager. So on these NEU funds that have to be obligated by the end of this year, what does that mean, obligated? On contract or simply in our budget somewhere? What does that mean to have it obligated? And how long can we hang on to it before, for this project, where if it doesn't work out that we want, can we have the option to use it for something else? At what point does that occur?
So funds not obligated by December 31st, 2024 will need to be repaid to the U.S. Treasury.
Yep.
Funds must be spent by December 31st, 2026.
I got that part. What does obligated mean?
Means that you have the plan. Like you have said, we're spending this much, so.
You don't have to
in-
have a signed contract. You can just declare that we've
Correct.
set this money aside.
Yes.
That's really good.
Yes,
Okay.
so in April, I have to do my annual report to the Treasury of what we have spent or obligated our funds for the year ending March 31st. So when I do that in April, if you vote for this, then that will be part of my report because they were obligated in March. So this year I will have like what was obligated since my last
Okay.
report to them.
So that covers that base.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then next April, I'll have to do another report, but This legislation was passed very hastily back in 2021. So you have a lot of different dates, like we have to do our filings in April, for a period ending in March, but things have to be obligated by December. So does that mean that in January we'll be doing our reporting next year? I don't know. They've changed the final rule a few times also. We're just doing the best we can to adapt. MMA has been a very good partner with that. They've done a lot of trainings to try to keep municipalities in, just aware and making sure that we're doing the reporting and everything the way we're supposed to. So.
But if we take this route, we're going to deplete that account down by 233, leaving, what, 64, I think you said?
Yep, yeah, $64,488.64.
So were there previously other options discussed for the use of that NEU? And what are we giving up by bundling it up and putting it onto this project?
So the city council did not have any kind of, like, are you talking about like a public hearing that citizens would come in and say, I think you should do this or that?
Yeah, I don't recall
No,
doing anything like that.
we didn't have anything like that. It's been used, but it has been used as a match. You can see, I have it broken down here. The broadband study wasn't a match, but that was something that was decided actually as soon as the money was announced, that they would have a broadband study. Then the county came up with a plan that through their funding, they wanted to hire a person
right
who
here.
was just looking after all of the ARPA funds, and they asked the member communities who wanted to apply for funding to help pay with 2% of their funds for that person, and the council decided to do that. In 2022, we used an amount for a match. In 23, we used an amount for a match. The others, we have to advertise the public hearings for the ARPA grants. In 2022, we needed to have some plans done to be able to submit for that, and for our 2023 CDS request, we also needed to have some engineering, we didn't get plans, but we had to get some estimates from an engineer to submit for that congressionally directed spending request too. So, this has really been used to leverage other funds. That's what kind of Caribou's motto has been with these funds, is let's use the funding to get other funding.
Right. I guess I'm looking at the following page. I see you've got it written here now.
Oh, yeah, so.
Other proposed uses that have been discussed in the past. So those are the things that we would be giving up by bundling this up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the architecture firm had asked us if we had remaining ARPA funds that could be used for the new police station. Premium pay for public safety employees. This is requested frequently by staff, as many other municipalities pay this immediately after receiving funds. Bird's eye reuse, and I can see that coming because we do have a proposal on the table for development there, and it could be used for other infrastructure, public safety equipment, or community projects. That's just really kind of taken from the language in the most recent final rule.
I think of another one like the airport trailer park area would be a really interesting place to think about investing some of that money. But
we do have like a trailer park reserve. So we do have some funds that are available there, that we could use.
they're still planning on ripping out all of the sewer and
Correct.
electrical and,
Yeah.
and all of that. So
Yeah.
doubtful that we'd be able to get that obligated by the end of the year, though, because we don't really have a plan for that yet, right?
I mean, for trailer park reuse?
Oh, for example, trailer
Yeah.
park, yeah.
Gosh, it's only March. I mean, so there's time.
Yeah.
I never say never.
Anything further? Oh,
Public hearing's still open.
yes, it is.
Another comment, I just want a point of clarity too, just for everybody to understand. And I agree, I understand why we would need to go forward with the $500,000 option to do the grant. I don't disagree with that, but I want to make sure everybody's clear that it's not like, because you do the 500,000, it's only 500,000 more to go down the hill. It doesn't work that way. That's like a whole nother basic line from there. So if you kind of break it into two projects, you'll move the project from $1 million project to probably a 1.3 or 1.4 million, is my guess. Because you won't gain that, it's not an equal thing. So just want to make sure everybody's clear on that.
I think to me right now, it's a matter of securing this money because this is what we have to work with in the time frame that we have, so. Anything further? Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing at 6:45 PM. And what are the wishes of the council?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the City of Caribou 2024 Worcester County ARPA program application in the category of investment in infrastructure and obligate up to 200, is this right?
Yep, up to
220,000, okay. I got the wrong one, right one. 220,000 in ARPA, new funds towards the project.
Second.
Motion and seconded, discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay. Item number 9 on the agenda this evening is reports by staff and committees. I do believe that Manager Thompson has a few extra things she's going to add in here, but for the time being, we can go ahead and start with 9A, which is the financial report. Carl, please come on up.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, councilors, and manager. The narrative is on page 23. I'll be starting my presentation on page 24 for those who want to follow along on page 23. That's February financials. The assets on hand as of February 29th of 2024 was $12,795,049.50. Cash on hand, $6,744,525.73. 3/4 of the way down the page, the 2023 tax receivable amount collected for the month of February was $98,110.23, leaving a remainder of the commitment at $566,773.45. Bringing our commitment total to 92.7%, and that's like 0.3% less than the amount collected compared to last February. We also collected $28,473.87 towards the 2024 commitment, bringing that total to $164,743.16. On the next page, 3/4 of the way down the page, the liabilities ended at $8,776,096.15. Moving over to page 28, the fund balance at the bottom of the page. Our total fund balance at the end of February was $4,018,953.35. Moving over to page 31, our expenses for the month of February. In the current month column, we had expended $725,231.47. And comparing that to last February, we were down 16%. Last February, we were at $863,256.71. Moving over to page 36, our revenues for the month of February came in at $521,192.17. Last February, we were at $429,656. So we're about 91,000 more, up about 21.3%. Excise tax for the month of February came in at $106,659.51. This is $24,500 more than last February, about a 30% increase over last year for the month. Revenue sharing came in at $220,303. That's about $22,500 more than last February, about a 11% increase. And last but not least, I have the cash graph on page 41. Just gives you a history of the cash balances each month for the last little over 4 years. This is my financial report, unless somebody had questions.
Oh, Counselor Morrow, you have a question?
I'm just curious, I mean, I see the excise tax, is up quite a bit, of course, everything is up quite a bit, so that means we must be doing something right. And I'm sure this gets to do a lot with unfunded positions, blah, 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 whatever. But it must have something to do with people buying more expensive vehicles and paying more excise tax to the city of Caribou. So but it seems as though everything is up, Carl. I mean,
Yeah, it's up for revenues, for sure, yeah.
Just to clarify, Counselor Morrow, expenses are not up, though. Those are down.
Yeah, so that's a win-win.
What you want to see.
expenses are down, revenue up.
There we go. Perfect.
So just a brief description on expenses. I kind of did a little summary of, why we're so far down compared to last year. A lot of it is diesel fuel. With the warm winter, we didn't spend as much on heating fuel, and with the low snow volume, Public Works hasn't spent, the amount of money. And like you said, on the revenue side, we're up because excise is higher and revenue sharing is higher. The fire and ambulance, though, as well, they're up about 25,000 over last February as far as runs. So they're bringing in extra money. And interest on our money, we did $22,000 better in this month of February than last year, just because interest rates are so high. So.
Yes, Counselor Morrow.
One last question, but Carl, there was a discussion a while back about some of the missiles that we have, treasury notes, okay, whatever, turning them in early, cashing them in early, even though paying a penalty, but with the hopes that we could get increased revenue or a better rate, okay, I guess, whatever. Has that ever been looked into?
Yeah, we actually did that on a couple of the memorial funds for the library. But most of them are short-term now. So when they do come available, we'll have a chance to lock in for a longer term at a higher rate.
Okay.
Yep.
So we did that at the AWS, just to read something up. We actually cashed in, turned the notes in, paid a penalty. Okay, but paying the penalty was not as bad as what the increased interest that we earned. It actually worked out very, very well out there. I'm just wondering if we're looking at doing the same, that's all.
Yeah, no, we don't have any long-term notes that we should reconsider. It's just when they do come due, I've been trying to extend them longer to get the higher rate. So I don't want to pay any penalties because we don't have any long-term ones that are at low rates right now. So.
That's fine, but what we found out there was paying the penalty.
Yep.
Even though a year CD, something like that.
Yeah.
Paying the penalty was better for us, and to get the increased interest on the CD or whatever, and it actually worked out better. But that's just.
Yeah, I did look at that, but like I said, we didn't have any long-term lock-in CDs. So as they come due, the short-term ones, as they come due, I'm trying to lock in the best rate for a longer period of time.
That's fine, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Good question.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Carl. What are the
Thanks, Carl.
wishes of the council? We need to approve them.
Yeah, motion to approve financials.
Second?
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is item number 9B, the city manager's report.
So for economic projects, we have our events and marketing, and there will be an eclipse on April 8th, 2024. Caribou is in the path of totality. Eclipse glasses will be available at the Wellness Center and the Nylander Museum this week for $3. Well, for the next 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks from today. We also have Eclipse t-shirts, which Mayor Bowman and I are both sporting tonight to encourage people
How
to.
do you get one of them? Where you guys
They're
get
at the
those?
Wellness Center
Go right to the Wellness Center.
during
Counselor
normal
Morrow.
business
Right now,
hours.
Or buy one.
Yes.
They have them in maroon and gray.
Mhm. And if you're
Oh,
like
really?
me and don't like a crew neck, they have scoop necks for the ladies.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I went with the scoop neck as
Yes, I like it better. It's more comfortable. So during their normal business hours, you can be like Mayor Bowman and I and have these crazy cool Eclipse t-shirts. All proceeds will benefit community events. And I'll say these were done locally at County Quick Print. And if someone wants to have it put on a bag or something different or a different style shirt, they can contact County Quick Print. They have everything to do them. So Land Bank, Councilor Bagley has information to present about moving forward with the Land Bank initiative tonight. The Chapter 13 rewrite, the Planning Board has asked staff to work up a timeline for getting changes to a public hearing. The Federal American Rescue Plan Act was on tonight's agenda. The Development Committee met on March 20th. There's good things happening there. The Facade Improvement Program is also on tonight's agenda. The Caribou Economic Growth Council, their next meeting is March 28th. And for business outreach, we were able to meet with several business owners during the Facade Improvement Grant application process. Councilor Morrow was involved with that also. We missed Councilor Bagley. He's usually on that committee also. It's really, it is so just, I don't know, it's exhilarating, I guess maybe. I don't know if that's the right word. To hear people that are so passionate about their business come and tell you about their plans to make their business better, more inviting, and to encourage more people. And I just love that about this project. So the Nylander Museum, there is Earth-themed fun planned for April break. So if you have children who might enjoy a trip to the Nylander, they will actually be open. So next weekend, they will be open for the eclipse, a special day on Monday. So they're open their usual Saturday, Sunday, the 6th and 7th, and then on the 8th, they'll have special hours also. So anyone in town can stop by the Nylander. Fire station renovations. Again, as we discussed tonight, we have some county ARPA money. We have some of our own NEU funds that we use for a match. And then we are also getting a congressionally directed spending request. And this is going to make a major improvement at the fire station. When we started on the project, we realized it was going to be a lot bigger than we thought, which is why we went after the congressionally directed spending request. And that has passed, and we're very excited to get started down there. It's going to make a lot better facility for our employees, so they're able to provide even better service to not only Caribou citizens, but also other communities in Central Aroostook County. For the police station, S.W. Cole has been working at the site this past week. They are doing borings to do exploration, to see if there's ledge, see if there's anything else that could impact the site work there for the police station. I will tell you, they have had one issue after another. They had an equipment issue. They had to start a day late. Their primary operator has tested positive for influenza A, so he's been out. I think this is just a time, and I mean, we see it even with some of our own council members, there's a lot of illness going around. So with the airport is open for aviation activities only during the eclipse. Our Star Park is at the Wellness Center. So I want to make sure people know you cannot go to the airport to watch the eclipse. Like, it's only aviation activities. What we're hearing from FAA Boston is that they're expecting a lot of flight activity on that day. That there are people who like to fly through the eclipse. So I know that sounds like, kind of an unusual thing, and especially since Caribou is the last general aviation facility before you cross the international border, we may actually get quite a few people that will land here and fuel up and go back home. So we're trying to get the word out that the airport is only open for aviation during the eclipse. Comp plan update, the planning board again has asked staff to work up a timeline for getting a draft of the 2024 to 2034 comprehensive plan. So Karen Gorman is working on that from the city, JCAM is working on that from NMDC. LD 2003 implementation, the planning board has received a document for the review from NMDC, and they'll be discussing it at their next meeting, probably the next couple meetings. It's a lot to digest. They talked about it a little bit at their last meeting as far as any customization that they might want to have, if the accessory dwelling units would need to be on a parcel that was owner occupied, what the minimum size would be. So they are starting to work on that. The DOT Village Partnership, I was actually interviewed as part of a story that ran last week on the DOT VPI in Aroostook County, and I was wearing my shirt. So we're really hoping that people get the idea we're having an eclipse, and be safe and wear your glasses. So, Cary Medical Center, the 100th anniversary of Jefferson Cary's vision for our Caribou Community Hospital will be celebrated all year long in 2024. Other updates, did I mention that Caribou is in the path of totality for the April 8th eclipse? Administrative approvals, American Legion Post 15 liquor license and special amusement permit renewals were approved. So on April 3rd, the Bangor Daily News is putting out a special advertising section that will have ads and also calendars for all the different main places that are having activities with the eclipse. And so this is what Caribou will have in that special insert about what we have going on, but why Caribou is a great place to visit any time of the year. We have so many different things that people can do, from our Thursdays on Sweden Street to this year is the 50th anniversary of the craft fair, and it's the largest craft fair in northern Maine, and this will be the 50th anniversary of that, which is, say what it is, Counselor Morrill. It's wicked cool. That's what you say every time. Wicked cool.
That was coffee. Okay, so that's a couple of questions, okay? In regards to the new LED street lights, have we been adding some or getting some of the ones that have been turned off, turned back on,
So the Highway Protection Committee will be meeting soon.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully next week.
Yeah, so that will be something they'll talk about. I'm not sure who's on that committee. So we also have,
Counselor Morrill,
So seeing as how we have the airport stay here, and we're the last place people can stop, does that mean we can rent a helicopter and then we can take the whole city council up and go check out the eclipse?
In your dreams.
that would be a no. But the good thing, so I also have a bulletin on there. Again, it's about the solar eclipse and air traffic. That it seems to be that's going to be a big thing that we need to be thinking about. Also, not in your packet and not on your list were two things that actually came up today. this afternoon, which was, it's time for us to send out our 2024 interlocal cooperation agreements with the other towns that Caribou services, either ambulance service or fire and ambulance service. And so I'll need a motion from the council for me to sign those contracts with the towns. So for Caswell, okay, the ones that just have ambulance service are Caswell at $29,300, Limestone $152,600, Stockholm $25,000, T16R4 Madawaska Lake $14,200, Westmoreland $7,900. Those with fire and ambulance service, Connor Township $57,125, New Sweden $72,125, and Woodland $152,125. And these are based on population.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, just so that the counselors know, you do have a copy of this.
Yeah, you have a copy
in your-
of this, and I have to
Everyone
thank
knows.
Judy for typing that up for me literally at like 5 o'clock.
Have the rates per population gone up? Have they done any
I don't believe
changes or
so, but I
anything?
think everything is what the council set, several years ago. I mean, if that's something that the council wants to tackle for this year, going forward, we can certainly have the fire and ambulance chief come in and speak about that.
So no change from 2023? Is that what you said?
I don't believe so. I
Okay.
mean, as far as the per capita rate.
I
I
do
don't-
remember
I don't
a
believe it's been
discussion
changed for a
several months
while.
ago
It
about
hasn't.
this, about the need to relook at that.
I think it was looked at about 3 or 4 years ago, was the
Yeah.
last time that we made a
Is it
change to
time
it.
to look at it again, you think?
We certainly could.
I think so. John's good.
Do we have to have this in place, though, now, and then we revise it, or can we hold off on taking care of this today?
I honestly don't know. I know that I was given the contracts to sign and send out, and it sounded like Carl has sent out the bills, but not the contracts.
So it might be something we can look at for next
Next
year.
Next year.
Yeah.
Okay. Counselor Morrell?
I totally agree with that. I think that because of our increased expenses, especially with labor and all this sort of thing, as much I hate to say it, okay? It's getting more expensive for us, it's gonna have to get more expensive from them. I remember years ago, okay, when they went from $10 per capita to $100 per capita, what happened? And it's something we need to stay on top of. I mean, it's not our fault. I mean, we're providing a service that's costing us more money. And I think that Carl sent out the contract. I wish we would have heard about this prior to, only because we could have looked at it and figured out costs a little bit closer. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, I hate to say it, I hate to increase anybody's cost, but I think that it's something we have to get really, really close to. So especially these communities that we provide support to, that they don't get hit in some whacked out bill in 4 or 5 years down the road. And I think that's something we really need to watch. I mean, as our expenses are going up, everybody else is going up, and we can't continue to do this for free, so.
Nope.
Anyways, but if we feel that we have no choice this year, but to go through, and send these contracts out, and fine, but I would not encourage to allow this to happen again, until there's been some review, of the actual expenses associated with providing these services.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with that
I'm
as well.
gonna see if I can text Carl and see if he sent them out.
Okay. And if he has, again, I think that will give us some time over the next several months that we can take some time and look at this and look at the numbers and do a little bit of a study and then make sure that these are adjusted accordingly.
It's not fair to our citizens. I mean,
Yeah.
we're providing a service, I mean,
We'll see if I hear back. So anyway, we can move on from
Yeah, we
that.
can table this for just a
I'll,
moment. And you
I
can-
just sent him a text. I'm not sure that he'll get it, I don't know what else he's got going on, but.
You also had something for the connectivity,
Yep,
correct?
so also, at your table there, this is another thing that came in at 3:30 this afternoon. which was, so as Peter has alluded to in discussions that he's had here with the council, the city of Caribou has been working with the Maine Connectivity Authority for a grant through their Connectivity Hubs program. And our grant application is due on April 12th. And we don't have a meeting between now and then, which is, when this came in today, I said, oh wow, we have to get working on that. So you have also in your, so what I'm asking is for authorization to sign this grant, municipal acknowledgement and grant application authorization. So this grant does not require a match. And what this would do, you can see we have B.R. Smith and Associates from Presque Isle has been working with Peter on reconfiguring space at the library. So in the new part where it is currently open upstairs, except for the mezzanine, it would build out that second floor. So they would be able to add a conference room and also areas for telehealth and like a lobby area where people could read, or in the they would still have stacks there. There would be an elevator that would go all the way up from there, and a space that was open to below. And then downstairs there would be more space for computers and connectivity. The idea of the connectivity hub is so that, and it's something, it kind of builds off of the access points that Agency on Aging is doing, except this would also have a conference space. This would have, if for classes and things, this is for workforce development, telehealth, veteran services, and also education. Maybe I said education first. And this would just, it would take our library, it would add some square footage there. The grants can be up to $2 million to get this done. So we're also, with this project, we were also approved through a congressionally directed spending request. Yeah, so their first quarter, this is from Carl, sorry, I'm switching gears here. The first quarter billing went out in January. Okay, on that. Back to the library. So we also had, Senator King wanted to do a program in several small rural towns for energy efficiency in a municipal building. So JCAN met with our municipal buildings committee last year about which building could use the energy efficiency upgrades, and they all agreed that it was the library. So that has now been voted in, and so by the summer, they plan to have someone coming to do an audit of the library. And so we'll also have funding from that. Again, there's not a match for that either, that will help with some of the energy efficiency at the library. So it's really going to transform that building and also transform the services that our library will be able to offer. And again, there's not a match. I mean, we have to maintain it, and that's what we're warranting, is that for 5 years that we will maintain it. That's not a big deal for a community because we've had a library there for over 100 years. I mean, it's not like we're going to close the library. I think a lot of that is more for nonprofit organizations, that may not be able to keep something going. But for us, I think this is a really good chance to expand the services available at the library.
So right now, all you need us to do is
Yeah.
approve for you to send in the grant application.
Correct. Yeah, well,
Okay.
and so the city acknowledges its opportunity to review the MCA Connectivity Hubs program guidance and application form. And that's online. What I printed out was the overview program criteria, so you have that at your desk. The city further acknowledges that this acknowledgement and grant application document will be appended as an exhibit at to the grant application. The city further acknowledges that if the MCA grant requested by the city is awarded by the MCA, the city will be required to enter into a grant agreement with MCA containing terms and conditions requiring city compliance with federal source funding requirements, including but not limited to project implementation, performance requirements, reporting, and monitoring requirements, which is that way with any grant. The city acknowledges and represents to MCA that if MCA awards the city the grant to support the connectivity hub development as proposed by the city accepts responsibility to fund the ongoing operations of the connectivity hub as described in the city application to MCA for a minimum of 5 years after the project completion date.
What are the wishes of the council?
So moved.
I think that was a so moved. Second. Further discussion?
What's the motion?
He moved to accept this grant application authorization.
Okay. Is there any reason why we need to do this tonight, or are we up against?
Yes.
that?
Yeah, we're not
Okay.
April
having, we
12th
have no meeting
deadline.
before this.
Yeah, so the grant application has to go in on the 12th.
Okay, thank you. That was it.
Yeah.
Counselor Morrell?
I sat on this building committee project when it was presented by J Camp and NDC, and I'll tell you what, guys, okay? After touring the library, if you don't think this is a good idea, it's a gift. It's probably one of the best gifts that we've ever received.
Absolutely.
I'm
Yep.
gonna tell you, phenomenal. It's phenomenal, and that's why it's so moved to accept this grant proposal, and you go for every dollar we can get. 'Cause that library needs some work.
Thank you, Counselor Morrell. Okay, any further comments or questions? No. All right.
So just to clarify, we are voting to
Authorize.
authorize the manager to sign this paper.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrell?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Peter, to get ready.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work to even get it to this point, to be honest. I mean, it's because this is a huge project, but the strategic plan, the 5-year strategic plan included expanding the space at the library. And that was something that was accepted by the council, and this is a way for us to do that at no cost to the city. I mean, we have to maintain it, yes, but we would have maintained the library anyway.
All right, absolutely, thank you.
Did you have anything else, Counselor Kelly? Because I know that you're the liaison to the library, so.
Nope. All set, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and I think, Penny, that was everything that you had
Yep.
under the new business items there. Okay.
I guess the only thing, if I could just have a vote on, what you want to do about the 2024 fire and ambulance rates, or if you want, it's probably not a big deal if you want to wait till the April meeting, the April 22nd meeting. He sent out the first quarter, but if you want to have Chief LaJoy come talk about it, it's probably fine. I don't think I have to send them out today, but, I just was presented with them today.
Okay. And I don't know if where we've already sent out that first round, can we make
I don't even know.
adjustments
When
to
do
it
rates go up? I
mid-year?
didn't mean to cut you off.
I
I'm
would-
sorry.
That's okay. So rates haven't gone up, and that's what we were concerned with.
When do they typically go up?
First of the year.
They do.
Yeah,
Like in
so
like
because
January
we
or something?
didn't address that, the first quarter has already gone out at these
Gotcha.
rates, so I don't know if it's a matter of, maybe, it would be great to hear from him, for him to come and present, but I don't know that we can change the rates kind of mid-swing. I guess you'll have to talk
I
to
don't know,
Carl about
because I
that.
would say different towns might have different billing. Some towns may have their fiscal year could be July to June. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think in fairness, it's probably something we have to address for the next year, but,
Yeah, because we didn't give them any kind of
Notice.
notice or
No.
anything. That
and
would
it's
be
already
right.
been put into place, so,
Public hearings.
At the rec center
Right.
and all the
Yeah.
towns came in.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
so, yeah, I think the first step would be hearing from Chief LaJoy, and then we
Okay.
see how we want to proceed. Yes, Counselor Morrell?
I agree with that. I also would like to hear from Carl, our finance department. And I don't know how specific their run sheets are at the fire station, but like it was just brought up, some communities require more service than others, and I think that's very, very important to realize. I mean, I think that's a big thing. It's too late now, okay? It's too late now. We sent them a bill for this year, but with the intention that we are reviewing our costs, okay? It might be a big deal, I don't know, individual communities. I mean,
It was a big deal the last
It
time.
was a big
It was a big
It
deal the
was
last
a
time.
big
So I think it
deal.
requires a study. So I think we just need to move forward with, let's kind of do a study here. Let's first steps, Chief LaJoy come in, let's talk to Director Grant, and let's proceed that way.
Put it on your calendar
Perfect.
for like
Thank you.
October.
Okay, so do you need a vote from us, though, to move forward with this, I guess, at
That would,
this
if you're
point?
not gonna change them for 2024, that would be great. I can get them signed and Judy
Okay.
can get them mailed out.
Perfect. What are the wishes of the council?
I make a motion to send the contracts out as presented this year for 2024 with review to be done in the following year.
Second.
Motion seconded. Further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay. Up next on the agenda are reports and discussion by mayor and council members. Let's start down on this end of the table this evening.
No, we missed number 10.
Did I miss number? Oh my goodness! I am so sorry. Wow, look at me. I'm just jumping right around here. Sorry about that. Let's back
Not
up.
until Sunday.
Gonna
so
back
nobody
up.
hopping and-
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 10. New business ordinances and resolutions. 10A, we have a land bank presentation by Councilor Bagley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, just in terms of a little bit of background, I was first introduced to the concept of land banks about 5 years ago while I was on the planning board. And it was something that Mr. Murchison, who was the previous CEO, was really kind of a fan of. And he actually taught the planning board a lot about what it was all about. And so I've kind of followed this over the last few years, and I wanted this year to, maybe take a look at it and see what we can do to firm up the program a little bit. Our Chapter 19 actually shows and references land bank as one of the options to dispose of tax-acquired properties. The other options include selling it back to the owner, putting it out to bid, putting it to a land bank, or retaining it for public use. So land bank has always been in our ordinances for a while anyway, but we've never really had a program that described it and actually had a process for implementing a land bank. And so, and I also understand that we've experimented a little bit with land bank concepts by conveying property to the business investment group back a couple years ago, and maybe the outcomes weren't exactly what we expected, but so I wanted to take a stab at looking through and coming up with a concept to apply additional controls and accountability and have a repeatable process that we could follow and enhance our chances of a return on investment on such a thing. And so that's what I did. And so I spent the last few months just thinking about it and talking to some people, and I came up with kind of a concept that may make sense on paper. It may not make sense to some of us here, but I thought that I didn't want to go any further with it until we've had a chance to talk to it as a full council, get that guidance, and direction on how we want to proceed going forward, or not, with this concept or some other concept. By any standard, this is going to be a lot of work. And so that's why I think it's important that we all have a good idea of what we're getting ourselves into if we want to proceed down this path. Eyes wide open and understand that it's going to take a lot of time from staff and the committees and some of our time probably to actually implement what I'm suggesting here. So I won't take the time to go through this, if that's okay, slide by slide. You've all had it, you've had a chance to review it, I hope, and you have a basic understanding what I'm proposing. And so what I thought I'd do is just go right to discussion and try to answer whatever questions you have about what I'm proposing to think about. And we've already had some exchanges on email, some concerns, some questions. So, I mean, now's a good time, and I really appreciate the opportunity to get that input from the group so that, we're not spinning our wheels going forward with something that the council doesn't support and won't support going forward. So, that's my introduction. And like I said, we don't have to go slide by slide if you don't want to. I would just like to open it up for your comments and questions at this point.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Oh, go ahead.
At this time, I'm not in favor of doing this. I'm not sure that it's going to even work out with the laws, the new laws that they have passed in the state of Maine about foreclosed property. And when the city forecloses on a property, a tax acquired property now, they have to give it to a realtor and put it up for sale at fair market value. And then after you deduct the expenses that the city incurred, such as back taxes, advertising, legal fees, anything like that, then the rest of the money goes back to the property owner. So there's nothing there to put into a land bank to begin with. And they did, at first it was unclear as to what properties, but I did find a ruling where the legislature passed emergency legislation establishing a new process for Maine municipalities to sell tax-acquired properties, and it applied to getting a realtor and things like that. But it applies to all properties that are tax acquired in the way that we've been doing it. And so when we have to sell the property and give the proceeds and actually the profits back to the prior owner, there's nothing there. I think it's too much work for the staff, and I think it's too not enough clarity on this. I don't think we're going to be able to make any money on it. I don't know that there's any other statute or anything that allows exceptions. I couldn't find anything, but there might be. But at this point in time, I don't think that we should go through with this.
I'd just like to say that I wouldn't make that kind of bold statement without actually knowing that there wasn't some kind of loophole. I mean, because I think that the idea of it would actually give a wonderful out for a community to not lose the money. It's way worse, in my opinion, to have people that are not paying their taxes and having these blighted homes and then having to turn around and give them money for and essentially rewarding bad behavior, so to speak. Of course, there are people who fall on hard times and situations happen where things happen, and those are different situations. But there are often times when these homes are just, sitting and rotting, and now we're in this position where we have to turn around, hire a realtor, and pay them for these homes. I would much rather see an alternative for these, for the city to acquire a property in a way that we can reuse that property. If that means a nonprofit is able to turn it around and make something beneficial to the city. I wouldn't even care if that financially benefited the city, if it removed the blight and help improve the city itself. That is a win to me. So there just needs to be more remedies. We definitely have our hands tied, but I think there's creative ways around this, and I know we've been discussing deed in lieu, and there's other things that we've been discussing as potential possibilities, but I just think that there are obviously other places that are doing it. So how are they doing that? I'd like to see that explored, and you might have more answers to that. But.
Yeah, and a point of clarification on the law, I think Council Terry, you were referring to LD, I might have the number wrong. LD 101, is that it? So, as I read that law, it applies specifically to if the municipality decides to sell the property. The municipality still has the right to retain it for public use, enter it into a land bank, or sell it back to the former owner. And LD 1694, which is the land bank statute, which was passed in 2022, actually defines the land bank and the land bank authority for the state of Maine. And its purpose is to help assist municipalities with their land banks and for doing this for blight removal, specifically for blight removal. And so the mechanism for acquiring the property is different. The two laws, I think, as I read it, and I'm not a lawyer, but as I read it, they're meant to coexist together. One, LD 101 applies if you're going to sell the property, if the municipality decides to sell it. And the land bank, if you decide to enter it into a land bank. The way I read it, that option is still open, very much open. In fact, there's a new law, well, not new, 2022, supporting that. So I have to say, there may be something in there that we don't understand. I know I don't understand everything. I think it will take some additional exploration. To my knowledge, it hasn't been tested in the courts. Stanford has got their thing going. I think it'd be very interesting to see how they're playing with their land bank and how the impact, if there is any, of LD 101 on theirs. So anyway, that's just a point of clarification, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's a huge undertaking, I think, to put this. Potentially great rewards, but it's going to be a lot of work to put it in place.
Just a couple of things. One, I did actually speak to someone down in Sanford a few months ago. Yeah. And I am by no means any expert on this and would never say that I was, but to me it sounds like it does have something to do with what's on the property, how what's happening with it in terms of, are we demolishing what's on the property and so forth. So there were some issues around some of that, and that's something that would have to be looked into. The folks in Sanford said they'd be happy to speak to our city manager or a code person in the city, which right now happens to be our city manager.
One and the same.
But that they were interested, if we wanted to have someone reach out, they would prefer that it would be someone from code or the city manager or something like that. But that they'd be happy to talk to us about some of the things that they're trying to do to implement this there. So I did have a nice conversation with them, but again, it's not something that I know a ton about, so I got kind of just around the rough edges. The other thing that concerns me, and I'm wondering if Manager Thompson might be able to address this, is that when we did try this before, when we did the trial a few years ago with this, I believe now the property sits, but because of the way it went into the land bank or how we did this, to convey the property, we cannot collect property taxes on it. So now it sits there and we do not get to collect any taxes on it. So the lot sits there.
We should be collecting payments in lieu of. That's what the ordinance says.
I
If they
don't,
hold-
like I say, I don't know a lot about it,
Well,
but,
maybe I'll have to review that. If they hold it for more than a year without disposing of it or whatever, I think they're obligated to pay payments in lieu of taxes.
I can check on it, but I know that we don't bill them for property taxes through the
No,
commission.
we wouldn't,
Yeah,
right, because they're a nonprofit.
yeah.
so there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that go
And I was
into this.
concerned about that too. And
Yeah.
that really, that's what really motivated me the most, is I saw what was done. It's like, okay, this land was conveyed without any restrictions, without any expectation. It was just conveyed, without any controls or accountability. And, I mean, if we're gonna do that kind of thing, at the very least, we have to have some kind of a, I believe, some kind of a policy that kind of lays out what the expectations are and what the obligations are. So we're not just giving away land.
There was something in place, I don't recall, it's been a while now, but
Yeah.
have to look into what that
I don't,
was.
it was
Yeah.
before my time, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it was just conveyed to them. I don't think there was, any stipulation that they had to develop it. Because there, at the time, the idea was that they were going to rehab it.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
then when it became clear that they were not able to do that, and then tore it down, sorry, I got distracted. I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway.
but yeah, I think, just for us, we would need to look at some of those things and look at some of the things that have happened in the past and look at that legislation, and, I think that there is a lot to this. Counselor Morrell, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Just a couple things. First off, it's my understanding that the city manager is going to a meeting here later this week to discuss the legislation that we've been discussing here this evening. Is that correct? Okay. But
Yeah, that's
other
one of the
city-
topics at the manager interchange that's on Friday, is about tax acquired property. True.
Sure. Now, until she comes back with relevant information, this cannot be discussed. Number two, the most important thing about any of these properties is getting them back on the tax rolls correct, quickly, okay? It's, like, Mayor Boma, you were correct in assuming that, there was an experiment that was done a couple, 4 or 5 years ago, turning properties over, to a nonprofit, okay? They were gonna flip them, okay, or something like that, which never happened, okay? And of course, as a nonprofit, they don't pay taxes. So the thing is, we wanna make sure, okay, these properties produce taxes, okay? Now, hiring a realtor, and especially because this is another flip to this whole story, okay, is that because the realty laws that have just changed here, okay, it's probably more, but would more behoove us to hire a contract with a realtor at a certain percentage, okay, to list these things and somehow move them quick. Joan, I agree with what you're saying. But the thing is, okay, some of these properties have value, some have not. Okay, but the thing is, okay, if you put them in a package, okay, or size them up, you get rid of them. If you put them on the tax roll quicker than you do trying to manage this and manage that, adding extra work to the city office, or blah blah blah, whatever. I mean, the most important thing is to flip these properties, okay, and get them back to the tax rolls as quick as we can. Okay, and we have some that we know are bad, and we have some that we know are good. So and the only way that can be determined, you go out and you contract with a realtor, and you go out for bid, okay, and you're done with it. And it's nobody's out. I mean, nobody's problem except the realtor, except the flip. Okay, so it's my opinion.
And I'll follow up on that. So one of the inputs from the CEGC when we were talking about different ways that we could do this, one of the inputs was there was one on the committee who didn't feel like there would be enough salvageable properties to make this worthwhile, that most of them were just completely trash and demolition was the only option. And so that is a concern. And I think you would want to have in your process an initial assessment of everything that's out there and say, okay, is this rehabitable? Is this refurbishable, or is it so far gone that we're going to just demolish it or give it away or whatever. And then you're identifying those that have potential and have the analysis and the data to back it up, to say, here's what we think it'll cost to refurbish it. Here's what we think we can get, on the open market after the refurbishment. Have that analysis, and then you're going forward with a little bit more confidence that you're actually going to get a return on investment. So that would be a key part of this, is having that assessment up front to identify which properties are, good candidates for refurbishment and which are not.
Yes.
Well, the
Council-
point is of what I was talking about is, I don't think we need to go through all of this now for the land bank program until we know exactly how we can do this. And we probably don't have to go through the process of a land bank, because you're gonna have a lot of properties that are gonna have to be torn down. We know that. And I'm certainly not against taking away the blight here, however we can do it. But I think that the land bank program is just, it's an extra step that probably we don't have to take. It's more work that we probably don't have to do. And I don't think it's something that even until these laws get straightened out and we know for sure how to go about it, and we can still go about anything without the land bank, I think that we should just table this and look at it another day if something comes up and the land bank would work. But at this point in time, I don't think it's worth the effort. I really don't, not right now.
Going back to something that you said, Councillor Bagley, it might take some of that kind of legwork out of this, is we do have a list of properties that are, on our list to be tax acquired or whatnot. Several of those are nuisance properties. Several of those are either declared dangerous buildings or a candidate for the dangerous buildings list that we have. So maybe it's a matter of just checking that list and checking what research we've already done to see how many of the properties that we're looking at right now fall under one of those two categories. That would help us out without having to do a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
Councillor Morrow?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we table this matter until for further discussion. First off, until our city manager comes back from her meeting. I would invite the Business Investment Group, to see as how they're the key players here, to come out and target and see how much money you're talking here. Okay, it's there's one of your slides is about a seed program, seed money. Who's going to put the money up? Us again? And I'm done putting up money. Okay, but I make a motion that we table this matter until further.
I second that.
Motion and seconded. Further discussion. Bagley?
No.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
No.
Morrow?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Next on the agenda is the creation of the facade improvement grant for the RC2 TIF district. That's on page 57 of your packet. So as a little background, the City of Caribou has had a successful facade improvement grant program for several years in the downtown TIF district. There's been interest from business owners to also have a facade improvement grant program in the RC2 TIF district. Staff checked with the DECD, who has communicated that one could be established. As part of the 2024 budget process, the City Council has appropriated funding for the facade improvement grant program. After the awards from the spring 2024 downtown TIF district facade improvement grant awards are funded, there will be $16,500 remaining to be appropriated. The application program can be structured like the downtown TIF facade improvement program using similar criteria and scoring. The initial grant period could have a due date of April 12, and then the grant awards voted on at the April 22 City Council meeting. On the following pages, which everyone has in their packet, are the proposed application and a map of the RC2 district. Note the map included is the one that is most clear among the ones available. However, it has a parcel marked in pink, which was the subject of a previous project. There is no significance to the pink parcel for the purposes of the facade improvement grant. And you all have that information in your packet, and hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at it. What are the wishes of the council?
So I also wanted to say you have in your stack of paper, so we had the meeting for the facade improvement grant in the downtown TIF district on Thursday, and then Judy reached out to everyone. And then I got an email today from someone who led me to come to the conclusion that I needed to be more clear on the application page. So I have there like what I think should be the new application page that has very clear the total City of Caribou contribution for each grant application is the lesser amount of 50% of the project cost or the following project maximums. And this is where it has listed out about a major facade restoration up to $7,500, new coat of paint up to $2,000, new sign face changes up to $750, signage enhancements up to $1,500, and fencing up to $2,000. So that was it. Today I said, well, I guess I should look at making sure that all of that is right near where someone signs if they've understood that.
Gotcha.
Good idea, Penny. That was a really good idea.
Yep.
I'm not saying
Absolutely.
somebody was complaining. I'm just saying our conversation led me to believe I needed to take that extra step.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. What are the wishes of the council?
Make the motion that we expand the facade improvement project to include the new TIF district, or the existing TIF district, TIF District 2, I guess. I might not have this right, but
RC2?
RC2, yeah. And I make the motion that we expand it. If I said it right.
Establishing.
Right, because before the facade improvement grant program was only established for the downtown.
So you're saying you'd like to make a
Establishing it.
motion to establish it for RC2 TIF district? As
Also,
well,
Yeah.
as well.
Correct.
I'll second it.
Danielle, is that okay?
Are you only doing half of the motion that was in the packet? That is only half.
You want to cough medicine?
Oh, you need the rest of it
If you
because
have
of the
it.
applications. Yes, I understand what you mean. Would you like to amend your motion, Counselor Morrell?
You can just amend it for me, I guess, and it's probably more correct.
If somebody would like to amend it?
I'll read it.
Okay.
Make a motion to amend, to establish a facade improvement grant program in the RC2 TIF district with initial applications due April 12th, with funds budgeted in 11-01-411-01 economic development facade improvement.
Second.
There you go.
Excuse me, motion and seconded. Further discussion. Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrell?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. That'll be nice. Good.
We've already had a lot of interest about this. I've been contacted by 3 different businesses, and that was one of the factors that led me to reach out to DECD to see if we could interpret our project cost centers in the grant to include this.
No, I think that's wonderful. Good, thank you. Okay, we have nothing under old business. Okay, now it's time for reports and discussion by mayor and council members. Take 2. Okay, Councilor Kelly, do you have anything you'd like to share this evening?
No, I don't.
Deputy Mayor?
No, I don't, except I know there's been a lot of questions about the LED lights and things like that, and I promise you I'm gonna schedule a meeting, depending on Penny's schedule, for next week sometime, if you give me some dates.
Counselor Lovewell?
I have nothing.
Counselor Bagley?
I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna miss you all. We don't get to see each other for a month, right?
You won't miss us that
After
much.
meeting like weekly for the last
Yeah.
3 weeks,
I know.
it's been a tough, tough thing, so.
We'll have more
We'll
time
see
for
you
committees.
in a month. What's that?
We have more time for committees, though.
Committees,
Yes.
Yeah.
I might have
That's
more
good.
gray hair next time you see me.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, no.
I see 7.
Counselor
right?
Morrell. Oh, I shouldn't have opened myself up to that one. Counselor Morrell?
I really don't have anything to say, is that I'm really anxious to see the committee get together about the LED street lights. I have a lot of people that talk to me about that. I would actually want to commend the highway department for the phenomenal job they did during this last big snowstorm. We all thought we were done with it, but we weren't. So these guys, I mean, I'll tell you what, they come around my neighborhood, never tore a piece of grass up at all. So and I'm sure there's probably neighborhoods where people are thinking, oh my God, they're gonna roll my lawn back, okay? But they did a phenomenal job. I think that's very, very important for them guys, especially what they've all been through. Bunch of young guys, so I think that's pretty cool. So anyways, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Make a motion for a minute.
Not yet, not yet. I haven't had my turn yet, Counselor Morrell. The only thing I would like to mention is we did talk in terms of the day of the eclipse. Of course, a lot of businesses, schools, a lot of places are getting done early that day so that folks can be home or wherever they need to be to enjoy the eclipse with friends, family, whatnot. So we did think that it would be best if the city office could close by noon or 1 o'clock on that
Sure.
day. I guess whatever you would see fit, Manager Thompson.
Okay.
So just a note to everybody out there in the community that the city office will be closed for a portion of the day on the solar eclipse, April 8th. Our next regular meetings are April 22nd and May 28th.
What?
That's right. Whoa. And we do have an executive session on the agenda for this evening. So what are the wishes of the council?
Motion to go into executive session?
4.
Oh, 4. I gotta put my glasses back on. Let's
That's all.
see. Under MRSA Title I, 405.6, executive, wrong one, C, for economic development matters. There we go.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion seconded, discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. The regular part of our meeting this evening is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.